Welcome, friends, to the dawn of a new age in Eugene Sports Talk. I got my Diet Pepsi live from the Bigfoot Beverages Studios. 3 hours. This is my therapy. Welcome, friends, to the drive on the all-new Sports Animal Eugene. We are live on sportsanimalEUG.com. That's our brand new website. YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. We're going to own the world with this little radio station, chugging like a big locomotive down the tracks. I'm Danny Havel. My tag team partners, we call him Goose, Steve Mims.
Hi, Danny.
Justin Grossweiner, Baby J.
What up?
In the studio, producing, engineering, Vegas. And on the controls, video-wise, we'll have the audio cleared up momentarily on all the streaming platforms, on YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch in just a moment. You know, when you start something, and Blaze, you can go ahead and pull that down now so I can talk, although I would just want to listen to AC/DC for the rest of the next 3 or 4 minutes so I can catch my breath. But welcome. This has been a labor of love for, well, for me, I never thought I'd own a radio station, first of all. Secondly, when we decided that as a family, we were going to purchase KORE, which, by the way, is celebrating 100 years on the air, which is quite an accomplishment in itself. I said, you know what? How are we going to reinvent things? How are we going to shake things up? How are we going to make it better? And so this is how the Sports Animal was born, birthed. And here we are. And you get to see our smiling faces every single day, Monday through Friday. Goose is going to be here for the first 2 days, and he's taken off.
Of course.
So this is, Goose is our Johnny Carson.
I never knew how much work went into putting a show on the radio, but I just learned in the last half hour how much work it really takes.
Well, so, and again, this is going to evolve. So just, I want everyone to hang with us because we got a bunch of more exciting things to discuss and talk about with you. Our phone number, the Oregon Man Clinic hotline, is saying the same right now, 343-5673. Since we have a 3-hour show, this is going to be more caller driven than before. So we're going to have a lot of opportunity to interact with you, the fans, which is one thing I wanted to do. So just, again, give us a little grace, give us a little patience. We're not going to disappoint. There's a lot of cool and exciting things that are going to be coming up on this little radio station that are going to help the community and give you guys stuff. We love giving away things. I can give away my house. Maybe we'll give away Baby J's car.
Oh, please don't.
What? So if you upgraded to a better car,
well,
would that? See, you didn't know what the other side of that was. So, yeah, as Baby J's gesticulating.
I always have something to say. I always have my initial response, and then you talk me down. So
on the program today, we'll have our very first guest in about 12 minutes from now. And then, of course, the World Cup, we'll have plenty of reaction to that. And speaking of the World Cup, top of next hour, love saying that. Yeah. Top of next hour, we'll have the voice of the World Cup on Fox Sports. Yes, KWVA graduate. And he is going to be right here on this program. John Strong is going to join us right at the top of the hour number 2. Talk a little Oregon State baseball. Now the draft is done. Oregon and Oregon State kind of know who's moving on and who is going to stay. So we'll have that. And then in Major League Baseball, who needs to buy, who needs to sell? We'll talk about that in the second hour. Can the Pac-12 be relevant right away in football again? Might. And then a very special guest, top of the third hour. I'm not going to tell you who it is, but there's going to be a lot of basketball. So we're going to do a lot of football and baseball and more football in hour number 2. Hour number 3, it'll be more basketball centric. And again, your phone calls. on the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 343-5673. Jump in anytime. All right, Goose, what'd you do this weekend?
Well, were you going to give me a list of the rundown, or am I just?
Well, I'll give you my copy.
You keep it. What did I do this weekend? I was in Black Butte last week with the family for the start of it, and then they stayed through Sunday, so I was kind of bacheloring it and watched a lot of golf.
And so we didn't even get to the Open.
Yeah.
So people don't call you can't call it the British Open. It's just the Open
Championship.
The Open Championship. And I think it was a wild finish and came down to the last putt, which is what it should be. But I think some of the chatter on Sunday was how Scotty Scheffler took advantage of the rules of a obstruction or an object that wasn't a part of the natural landscape. And it could have been a penalty stroke for him. And he ended up getting a free drop and ended up making a birdie on the hole. I mean, it would have been out of bounds otherwise. He would have been absolutely out of it. Now, he finished 2 strokes off.
Yeah.
But he had to go for it on 18. And, that 18 was the toughest hole to birdie, I think.
Not
the
so far. 2 perfect shots, 3 perfect shots.
But did you see that? How long that hole?
Yeah.
We're totally dismissing Justin in this conversation because Baby J is like, out of all of the sports that we can cover, Justin, the least would be golf, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Or hockey would be a close second.
You know what? Hockey might be the first. I could tell you very little about strategy in hockey. I think I understand what's going on in golf, but I don't really follow it as much, especially you guys. You guys are always following golf. So I'd like to get more into it. It's one of those sports that I feel like as I get older, because there's a lot of longevity in golf, I feel like I'll get more into. But for now, you are correct. You guys are going to be more of the opinion on this than I am.
So 343-5673, that is the toll-free number. Actually, we could probably get Kelly Graves on with the Zoom as well. So I'm going to text him right now. So Baby J, what'd you do this week? I know what you did on Sunday. So Justin, I was working here at the studio. Justin was around as well. And so
going to have a party.
I was going to have a party.
And the party got canceled.
There was a lot of things I was doing on Sunday, and the family was being distributed out to other areas, to mother-in-laws and mothers and others. So I was just like, I don't feel like I could do it justice. So we're going to do it another time. And I know what Justin was doing on Sunday because he was literally standing in front of a recliner in my family room the entire match.
Yeah. Well, I'm a pacer, not from Indiana. But I do just walk around when I'm watching a sporting event that I am stressed about. And I warned Danny beforehand. The only one we had been near each other beforehand was when Oregon played Ohio State in the Rose Bowl. We were with each other. But that game was such a blowout. I wasn't nervous the entire time. It was decided. But this World Cup, man, 0-0 until what was it, the 120th minute or 110th minute, I think, 105th minute, something like that. So I was just walking around, pacing.
Did you have a rooting interest?
I was heavily rooting for Argentina. Oh. I know that's not going to be the popular opinion around here, but yes, I was nervous, and it was one of those matches where it felt like Argentina was going to give up a goal the entire time, and they didn't, and they didn't, and they didn't, and then all of a sudden they did. But it was, it was an experience for Danny to get to watch me when I was stressed out, and he offered me plenty of food, and I don't eat when I'm stressed. I don't want anything. I just want to watch the game and just experience it. So, despite the result that I wasn't looking for, I do think it was a really fun final, and I enjoyed it. And I'm glad that Danny got to experience me when I'm at full throttle in my stress.
So the debate in the studio, which was rabid, was between Dom, otherwise known as Hawk, who's helping video produce the show today, and Justin about Lionel Messi. So do you want to explain the debate that I could hear through the brick wall in another studio earlier this morning?
It got heated. It got a little heated. Basically, the conversation was that producer Dom was saying, his statement was that Lionel Messi would not be able to play in the Premier League. And his reasoning behind it was that he isn't in the Premier League. He's been in the MLS for, I think it's been 3 years now. We discussed this. It was after the World Cup, not before, like I thought. So his idea was that despite the fact Lionel Messi had the second most goals in the tournament, 8, he carried Argentina to the World Cup final. He didn't think that he'd be good enough to play for any of the EPL teams. And I just vehemently disagree. I think that if you're looking at the teams that are playing in the World Cup. Like, yes, Algeria, Jordan, those teams are not better than any EPL team. But if you look at what Messi did against England, not necessarily what he did against Spain, obviously, but if you just even look at what he did against England, I mean, this guy is 39 years old, but I don't care. I don't care that he walks around for however much a game. It's like 90% of the game he's just walking around. I don't care. That's what he has to do to adapt as an athlete and be an older player and still make an impact when he's needed. So I think he'd be able to do the same thing in the EPL. I think that he can play in any league right now. I think the only reason he's been in the MLS is because he has wanted to stay healthy and not grind out the EPL and just play in Miami and have his family be happy and live in a place that it's in the United States, but there's obviously a big Spanish background there. So I think he's there because he wants to be, not because he wouldn't get an offer from an EPL team if he made himself available. And that's just my opinion.
Okay.
So I was vehemently disagreed with by Don.
Okay. So Don, go ahead and send that email for an invite, the one I just gave you. All right,
Yeah.
perfect. So, so that is the poll question now up on YouTube. So if you follow, or you're going to follow along on YouTube, you can watch us. And the poll question is could Lionel Messi play in the EPL? Simple yes or no. And we'll get the results later on. So we'll let the fans help decide this argument.
Well,
and Dom can't defend himself
No, I
or
know.
give his position because, one, we don't have enough time in the show.
We muted him.
And
Can I just add real quick?
of course you
I
can.
think that not only could he play in the EPL, I think he'd be one of the best players. And I think that this World Cup is evidence of that. So I'd love to hear some counter opinions on why I'm wrong.
And if you want to take that side one way or the other, 343-5673, 343-5673. So that's the poll question out there. And again, we kind of did the rundown, and I got to make another copy of it, and I can give it to Goose. So
By this evening, you set it up and I'll knock him down.
So I know, are you drinking Dr. Pepper today?
I am.
So this is all the great product placement because we are live in the Bigfoot Beverages studios. I've got my Diet Pepsi, as you will see, and we'll have that throughout the program. Justin, I don't think I've seen you.
Food, water, what are those things?
Both you and I today. We'll have
Lunch?
yeah, we didn't have lunch either. So, and Blaze is in the studios, in the Bigfoot Beverages studios, in the producer's room. He'll be giving us sports bites at the top of the hour. Another new little thing. We'll have a local sports update for you on the national scene and what's coming on later on tonight as we get back. Now football's over. The beautiful game's over. And now it's going to be, it's going to be baseball for the rest of this. And then we get ready for football. I mean, when the camps open up for football?
I think
The
they're
rookies today.
Yeah, let's say.
Veterans next week. And next week is Big Ten Media Day. So we'll start hearing this week is actually Justin's favorite week of the year. It's SEC Media Day. SEC coaches filling your social media all day long, bragging about how great they are, which I know Justin always agrees
Which
with.
I love.
But next week we'll have the local team with their major conference. So I think we can pivot to college football ASAP.
Okay. Well, and you know what we can pivot to right now? Let's go ahead and take our break now because I think Kelly Graves is waiting in the wings for us. He said he's on. So, yeah, I think he might be coming on in just a second. I don't know. But we'll take our first break. And when we come back, the head coach of your Oregon women's basketball program will get a summer swing update from the coach, Kelly Graves, the Big Kahuna, next on The Drive, Sports Animal Eugene.
I don't see him in here.
So is he on the phone? He said he was gonna.
I invited him. No one's in the queue.
He said he's on.
We got two different cables to attempt this with.
Okay, so I need to go in from number 4 here. So it's right here, and it's going into his microphone input.
No, that's a male to male.
Well, no. So I got an adapter.
Okay, well, I got male to female. I asked you male to female. All right,
It's working right now, but
All right.
I need one. So
all right, I'll keep looking.
I don't see him in here.
yeah. StreamYard.
borrowed. Let's qualify and finance with Greater Financial Services. Financing on approved credit, not all customers will qualify. Credit score of 720 or higher may be required to qualify. Prices.
Graves at uoregon.edu. He said he's on. I don't see him in the waiting room. App. He says he's on the StreamYard app.
Blaze just usually call him with a minute and a half left. I'll tell him not to call.
Well, we got to make sure we're going to get him on this side. Okay. All right, Sports Animal, Eugene, live on YouTube as well in studios, the big new studios. If you see us, say hello.
This is as live can be.
It is.
I'm schwitzing like I'm in a sauna right now. Like there are rocks in the corner.
We're getting texts from people listening that we're over the air. So part one is good. We are being heard on the radio, which was the goal. We'll work to get the rest of the stuff from there. But part one has been completed.
We're on all the socials now, brand new Sports Animal EUG. So if you go on all the socials, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all of the social medias, we're there. Facebook, IG, all of it. We're going to keep expanding, putting the video content out as well. And so you'll see that as we move along. And as soon as somebody lets me know we got Coach Graves on the line, we were trying to get him through the video chat, but that apparently is not working as well as we thought. See, this is why we do these things on a test run. And then we let it out so we got some big news coming in 2 weeks. I'm just going to say that. All right, let's head on over to our Oregon Man Clinics hotline and welcome in our very first guest. We tried to get him on video, but technology is a wonderful thing. We got the head coach of your Oregon Ducks, Kelly Graves, joining us. Coach, you got us, Coach? There he is.
Thank you.
There'll always only be one first guest of the history of the show, and that's it, the Kahuna.
Thanks, bud. We really do appreciate you. And I got to see your swing in person this weekend. Even though I was late, it was pretty awesome getting to meet our new volleyball coach. Well, not that new anymore, but also a couple of our friends. Carl, I'm not going to do last names, but what a great time. And man, I'll tell you, people who don't get to meet Kelly Graves up close and personal, that's one, your fault, because he's very accessible. And number two, Coach, I just have to say it as well. And this is going to sound like I'm blowing smoke, but you are just as genuine, even when you miss a shot, as you are with everyone. You're so gracious with your time and your energy. Where does your energy come from, first of all?
Well, I can tell you he's personable. I was just standing on the 18th tee last week, and here comes Kelly and his wife walking down, and they stopped and chatted with me and my father-in-law for a little bit. So it was great to run you there, Kelly. I hope my golf ball is still out in your little collection out there. Yeah, well, I don't know. That's a tough hole, that 16th hole. You can lose a few if you go long. So it's nice of you to put it right there where somebody can go replenish before they walk on to 17. Yeah, I heard you telling Mary, hey, I'm gonna go look for some more balls. So I said that's what Kelly was doing, was walking around looking for balls. But absolutely. Well, hey, let's chat some basketball. I saw Sophia Bell. There was a good story about Sophia that she's been doing an internship with Oregon Sports Properties. Kind of a cool deal for her to kind of get involved in that while she's here with you. Wow.
Amazing what she can do as an athlete and as a student. I marvel at anybody that can do that. This is Justin, by the way, Coach. We need to be able to meet up at some point. You've met everybody else. I haven't gotten that face-to-face meeting. So first of all, we got to make that happen. Let's do it. So I want to ask you about this team. Just overall thoughts right now. Like, what's your excitement level for this team coming into this season?
Mm-hmm.
We are with the great coach, Kelly Graves. We call him the Big Kahuna here on The Drive. Sports Animal Eugene. We just launched the station, relaunched it. So You can follow us, Sports Animal EUG, all the socials, and our brand new website. We'll be posting clips of the programs throughout all the socials as well. A couple more questions for you, Coach, before we let you go. Now, when we spoke last year, I mean, you had, I think, what was it, 15 kids? You could almost, field a few teams on the floor. So, and you were, again, really enthusiastic. And then, the injury bug kind of hit a little bit, but you slugged through and recovered from that. So as you look at this season, the numbers of the kids, I think, I don't know, are they the same? Are they down? Are they where you want them to be?
Yep. Coach, I know you haven't announced the schedule yet, but can you have have you finalized that yet? Are you still trying to add a game or two? Maybe the boss will let us do live remotes from there. I'm gonna see if. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Danny. Let's get that thing booked.
Coach, thanks for spending.
Yes, you do.
Excellent. All right, I'm gonna tell my wife we're going to Cancun for Thanksgiving on Danny's dime.
Mute Goose's microphone, please. All right, Baby J's got one more question for you, Coach.
Yeah, I just want to go back to Katie Fiso real quick because something I've always loved about her is her mentality. And she's attack, attack, attack. It seems to me like that's something that you're either born with or not. But I'd love to know from your perspective, have you ever had a player that's been able to not just develop their physical skills, but it's also their mentality and how they attack the game? Has that ever been something you've ever seen a player develop?
All right, Coach. Well, we appreciate you. That's number one guest down, always our first. It's the head coach of your Oregon women's basketball program, Kelly Graves. Kelly, thanks again and travel safe. Appreciate you, Coach. All right,
Thanks,
take
Coach.
care. All right, there he goes. The great coach, Kelly Graves, the big kahuna. Well, there's one down.
I'm thinking he was
Yeah.
probably pulled over at the Blue Sky Market, got three pulled over about halfway on the way to Black Butte. Maybe that's where he was at.
Yeah, and nice job, Vegas, as we go to break here. Nice job. I will have to take care of some things here in studio. Let's see who comes back after this. Yeah, just go ahead and spend the boss's money off the first show, and all of a sudden we're all going to Hawaii.
Cancun.
Oh, Cancun, Hawaii? Yeah. It was some tropical place. I was thinking Hawaii for some reason. When we come back on the Sports Animal, The Drive, World Cup reactions. And if you've got some phone calls, we'll take them at 343-5673. It is The Drive, 102.9 FM, 1050 AM in Eugene. Okay, so what are your mic inputs? Because they can't hear Kelly. So what are your mic inputs? Okay. They can't hear them at all? No, because I got to go through his microphone because my microphone is just me talking in to this.
My output is these headphones.
No, your input.
That's a promo,
My
probably.
built-in speaker.
I think that's a promo, probably.
So program microphone,
Danny, and
that's it. So there's no other input
the whole.
besides that.
I'll see what.
Good hear about it.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I got the.
Yeah, you're just here in the room.
So I'll be able to.
And I can't hear anything.
Well, that's a fix that.
Well, NFL Live today. Ryan Clark was on NFL Live today. And in the middle of the program, they told him he was being laid off. So he got up and walked off in the middle of the show. Clark was on NFL Live today, was told during the program he was being let go. He did not finish the program. ESPN expected to inform him tomorrow morning, but the news broke on Outkick during the show.
Do you hear him talking like he just said it?
No, he probably left on commercial break.
No, I still have nothing. I have that's fine. It's through one headphone, but one headphone's all I need.
So we got to figure out how on a caller we can get them on the YouTube stream. Which means we won't have John Strong unless we get John Strong through video. And I'm still trying to figure out because Kelly said he's going to send me a screenshot. He was sitting in the waiting room. He can't get into our waiting room unless he's got the link. So I'm not quite sure what that's all about.
Also mute us during the break. Whoever has their mic on.
Thank you for all your support. We just had Coach Kelly Graves on. Now, if you were listening to the radio or the stream, you heard Coach Kelly Graves. Unfortunately, on the YouTube, you couldn't. We're going to try and overdub that. So when we get it back, On the archive, you'll be able to hear all of Kelly Graves on the video. Okay. So sorry about that. The technical things we got to work out, but we're getting there. Slowly, surely we'll reach up into the sky and grab it out of the air. So we can still take your phone calls at 343-5673. That's the Oregon Man Clinic's hotline. We're live from the Bigfoot Beverages studios here for a Monday. 3 hours of the program daily now, Monday through Friday. Woo. So World Cup. I know everybody watched it. Our poll question, by the way, which is up on the YouTube, would Lionel Messi be able to play in the EPL? That's the European Premier League. And there is a debate amongst Baby J and Hawk that one says yes, the other says absolutely not. I guess you could probably figure out who's who in that conversation.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing, or the one question that I have that just keeps coming back, and we'll have John Strong on next hour, who's the voice of the World Cup for Fox, and we're very honored that he's going to join us on the first program, is this happened in 1994 when the U.S. last hosted a World Cup. And it seems like if the U.S. men are relevant, there seems to be an upswell in soccer or football enthusiasm in the States. So I guess my question is that there seems to be record viewership and such. How long do the MLS ride this wave? And then the backup question to that is that, can they sustain the enthusiasm in the United States for the beautiful game?
No,
There you go. The short answer. That's why I don't.
they don't have the best players. I mean, they can't, we
Well, so that's what-
I'm watching Bellingham and Hovland and all the Mbappe, and they don't, so you decide, hey, I want to watch those guys again. You got to watch Premier League. So none of those guys are in the MLS.
But that's what I said. How can they? So is it just going out and buying better players
Yeah.
and spending more money? That's what it's just going to be a spend.
Well, you have to have the best players in the world.
I agree with that. I actually think that's the biggest thing is that if people are going to get into the game, they want to watch. The reason why the World Cup's so popular is because you have all the stars there, right? And not that there aren't stars in the MLS. You got Messi, you got other players, but a lot of times they're on the back end of their career, right?
Yeah.
They're the name, but they're not the best players at that time. So I think that's the challenge is that, yes, the MLS, I think, is going to be important to this, whatever the development of the United States soccer, interest in here. But I think the biggest thing is, how do the United States fans of the game continue to watch the best players? It's in the Premier League. But that problem is the schedule. If you're going to watch a Premier League game, you got to get up early and watch a game. So I think the issue is just, how can fans logistically watch these players? I'm not sure there's an easy answer. People want to watch sports live. I mean, it is what it is.
So Lionel Messi is not enough. Pele was
He's
never
not.
enough.
Messi is one player.
Beckham came over here, but Beckham was the same thing. He
Zlatan.
came at the end of his career
They all
because he
do.
wanted to get paid and be not having to work quite as hard.
Well, I mean, would it be? Can we relate it to American sport? Wouldn't it be like the old ABA, NBA argument, or the AFL, NFL argument for back in the day before they finally got strong enough and got enough name players
But that's
to be
the
able to
other
be
league went
relevant?
away.
What?
That's the other league went away. The ABA went away.
But I mean, but
so your comparison would be that the MLS just goes away.
no.
We've got our first caller. We got Brad on the line.
All right. Well, let's welcome in our first caller, Brad. We had our first guest, and now we have our first caller, and it's our good friend, Brad. Brad, welcome to the Sports Animal. Brad. Hello, Brad. Just got to push the button. Oh, Blaze is furiously trying to push the button and turn it up. So that's all right. Hang in there. And if Brad, there we go. Brad, see, technical problems the first day. We're going to all overcome it. Thanks for hanging in there, buddy. Well, thank you, Brad. Are you weighing in on the World Cup, or do you have other things that are important to you? I have.
Certainly excited, so I think, I guess, and I hope that the World Cup, with that year.
And I don't disagree with you either that if you go to a Timbers game, which I've only been to two, I think, and they were both awesome experiences. I guess my question to you, Brad, would be that how much do you think would have been different for the way that everyone, including ourselves, feel about this United States team and the interest in soccer in general in the United States? And I call it soccer, yes. If they lost that game, I think it just put this damper over this United States national team. And I'm not sure if it's going to get enough of a bump because of that. Mm-hmm.
Really did not show up, and I don't know if that it was just the moment or what, but. Trying to see, that's for sure.
Let me ask you this, Brad, 'cause I agree with you that live it's great, and that's, people tell me all the time about hockey too. Hey, if you go live, you're never going to want to, do anything else. But so that part of it's great. But let me ask you, as a sports fan, if the Red Bulls and the Sounders playing on a random Tuesday night, are you seeking that out on TV? Yeah. There's cornhole, and there's Red Bull Sounders. Cornhole's on ESPN2. Red Bull
Pickleball.
Sounders is on ESPN. What are we watching? Okay, there we go. All right.
You finally pigeonhole him into an answer of being able to watch it. All right, Brad. Hey, bud, we really appreciate your support over the years on our old program and now this new one. We're excited to bring everybody 3 hours and a lot of good stuff coming as we move into the next 6 months or so right here on the Sports Animal.
So it's the famous trivia question, Brad, the first video ever on MTV?
I got it. I already know this. Come on. Can I get to answer it?
If Brad can't, then you can.
Okay. It's Buggles. Video killed the radio star.
And now the answer to first guest on the drive is forever going to be Brad. So thanks, man, for calling in.
There he goes. Thanks, bud. There he goes, the great Brad. So you better watch out. You're going to have to buy that sign if you lean into it a little bit more. Here on the, I see it. I almost did it. I stopped myself. Head to a break. When we come back, what is Michigan going to do to try and get themselves out of their own bad way? Now they're going to lose an athletic director. They lost 2 different head coaches in the main sports. Now, I like the hires that they've made, but now they have to replace their AD, right? The scandal just doesn't seem to stop chasing Michigan. We'll talk about it and how it might affect the Big Ten next on the Sports Animal, The Drive, here for a Monday. Top of the hour.
We're doing more than an hour? I thought this was an hour-long show when I signed up.
I think we're contractually obligated now to do more than an hour. Till 6 p.m. here on the Sports Animal Eugene. Thanks for following us, Sports Animal EUG on all the socials. Also, go check out the new website. Love the new website, Sports Animal EUG. We're going to make it very simple for you. Just go Sports Animal EUG, and you'll find us everywhere on your socials. We'll have the podcast up of this program. We'll be back on YouTube. And again, for all the YouTube-only people who are watching us right now, we apologize. You can't hear the audio from our guests or the callers. There's just one little thing that needs to be adjusted, but I can't do it during the show. I'm going to have to do it after the show. So by tomorrow, that will be fixed. And then I'll find 3 other things that I want to fix, and we'll go fix those as well. So John Strong at the top of the hour, just after the Sports Bite with Vegas at the top of the hour here on the Sports Animal. And we'll talk a lot of World Cup soccer and plenty to discuss after. I thought the final was just fine. People said it was boring. The red card kind of really flipped the script. It was tough for Argentina anyway, but the flipped script was in place when the red card was issued, right?
They were outshot like 20-0 at that point too, right? It's sort of.
Well, I mean, you just kind of knew it was how long was it going to last? I think if they could have gotten to the shootout, Argentina definitely would have had an advantage.
Yeah, Emi Martinez is a goalkeeping specialist for the penalty shootouts. Spain had only won 1 out of their last 5. That was a really good nugget that John Strong and the Fox broadcast brought up during that match. So it definitely was an advantage for them. I definitely think the better team won. I mean, there's no doubt that Spain, front to back, had the better team. And so, was it necessarily the most scoring in the final? I know you love scoring, Steve. So it wasn't maybe for you.
I like that 3rd place game. That's my kind of soccer.
Exactly.
6-4. Give me more 6-4 soccer games. There's your answer to your question. How does the MLS grow? More 6-4 games.
Well, okay, but if you're going to get in more traditional players from the European League, you're going to have more of the 2-1 1-0s.
And I actually heard something about this from some of the more into it soccer fans, was that one of the things that has been really great about this World Cup is that what's happened in the English Premier League is it's become so tactical and so technical in terms of the play that there isn't a lot of scoring. It's just like baseball, how they figured out this is what you need to do to prevent scoring, right? And so that makes the game less fun. The reason why it wasn't like that in this World Cup is because the tactics haven't quite been as good and the games have been more open, which has led to more scoring, which is, in your opinion, better. I think that there is some truth to that. I think about the Egypt and Argentina match. I mean, that one was awesome. Anytime you got a lot of scoring in soccer, it is very fun because each goal does mean a lot. But I just think it's the nature of the sport where you're just not getting a lot of scoring with how smart they are now.
Well, we'll have plenty to talk about with John Strong at the top of the hour from Fox Sports. Michigan Athletic Director.
Warden.
Yeah, I was gonna. It's weird how he spells his name with the E on it. It just
Warden.
always throws me off. Well, then why even put it there? So it's gonna be silent. Why is it there?
Your first name. Why didn't you just go DANY?
You make good points, Goose. That's why we love having you around. Stepping down at the end of the calendar year, there was an independent investigation into the quote unquote culture, or albeit lack thereof, of the scandal-plagued athletic department. And Manuel, who's 58, has led the athletic department for over a decade. Numerous national championships, including football, most recently men's basketball. But of course, there's been a ton of run-ins. Connor Scallions and then assistant, weight coaches, getting thrown in jail and things getting covered up, and Jim Harbaugh leaving unceremoniously, getting suspended, and then Sharon Moore, and then
He left after winning the national title.
just 2 years and went and grabbed the money in the NBA. Now, I don't know, was there handwriting on the wall? Who knows? There was a Chicago law firm that was hired back in 2023. This is how, is it 23 or 25? 25 to investigate more in that situation and including the broader operations. This study, by the way, guys, cost $12 million to do, and it ends up with Manuel stepping aside, probably with a nice parachute. He was, by the way, he's a Michigan man. He was a former defensive lineman under Bo Schembechler. So my question to you is this offshoot of what Michigan's going through right now, does this paint a broader picture of how the Big Ten needs to fix their own house before they start talking about taking over the world in college football?
Well, no, I mean, I think that this is just, and this was kind of a weird result. They didn't release the full report to the public. They kind of put out almost like they put a little bit on Ward, but they also didn't want to come out and throw everything on him. And it sounds like that was probably part of the agreement to let him go too, was, hey, we'll give you money. We'll kind of say that we need some changes, but we're not going to get into just how deep some of these things went. So now, do you know who the longest tenured AD in the Big Ten is?
Rob Owens.
Well, even though he's only technically been in the Big Ten
2 years,
but he is the longest tenured. But anyway, I promise you, these Michigan reporters who are putting out
Austin Meek,
and Austin Meek, our good friend Austin Meek, and others who are putting out candidates for the job, those people are going to put Rob on there, and the tie-in is going to be that his son Cooper plays baseball at Michigan. So
I don't think that's
trying to find. I don't think it's a match either. I'm just telling you, when these stories come out, you're going to see it on there because of that tie. I don't think he's going there for a son who's got 1 year left to play baseball out there, unless they offered to triple his salary or something. I think Rob's got a better gig here. But anyway, I'm just telling you, he's going to show up on those lists, even though it won't be very realistic.
So, Baby J, what do you think of this whole Michigan thing?
Well, it's been a mess, right, for the past 5 years, I guess I would say.
You go back even a little bit
Yeah.
further than that, because the whole accusation was Michigan was sweeping things under the rug knowingly. And that was part of the reason Jim Harbaugh said he did to me. I know Yogi Roth hates when I say this, is that he did the Pete Carroll. It's just like, you know what? Yep, we're going to have some problems here. See ya. I'm going to the NFL.
Right. And then they did that suspension thing with him for like 2 games. It felt like very like, all right, like we're just trying to suspend you.
Yeah, it was a pacification. It wasn't.
Exactly. I think that they'll be fine. I mean, this is still Michigan. I still think that they're going to be able to hire well. I still think they're going to be able to get players. Like ultimately, there's a lot of money in the athletic department. So I think ultimately they're going to be fine. But it is interesting that you say, you know, this is going to reflect on the Big Ten. Can they increase what they're doing and become, you know, the conference in college football? For instance, I guess it's all about football, right? This is ultimately what
Sure,
we're
it is.
talking
That's
about.
everything is. That's what we're talking about.
Right. I mean, we haven't, you know, we're talking about Dusty May a little bit too, but I think that ultimately Michigan will be fine. I think that they were even on an upward trajectory a little bit last year, although the Sharon Moore thing kind of threw things off. But I like what they did with their new head coaching hire with Kyle Whittingham. I think that that's like a perfect hire for them. So I think ultimately they'll be okay.
I think, you know, we talk about the mess that was going on behind the scenes. How about the fact that while all that's going on, they win the 2 championships that every AD is hired to win. You're hired to win the football championship and the men's basketball championship, because those are your top 2 revenue sports. This guy, while, you know, clearly overlooking some things, maybe culture-wise, did exactly what he was supposed to do in terms of winning the 2 titles that he was supposed to.
But isn't that kind of the now in our day and age, you can't hide those things anymore.
They still try.
Well, I'm saying they still try, but back in the day, you know, this was like the norm. It was like the things that would get intrepid reporters like yourself,
Yeah.
Steve Mims, would have to dig around and get sources and triple sources, because your editor is not going to take a big school on without having it lock solid tight.
Yeah.
So it's all, the whole thing is interesting, is that if this was, and I hate to say it like this, but if this was Purdue or if this was Northwestern, I don't think it would be making as much headlines or the possibility of detriment to the overall conference, because this is one of your flagship schools. When you think of the Big Ten now, you think of who? You think of Michigan and Ohio State, Wisconsin,
Oregon.
and now you think of Oregon. So that's where it's so incumbent upon these schools to be transparent and run good programs. And if you don't do that, then this is what should happen. There should be a changing of the guard.
Well, and the other interesting part about Michigan right now is they don't have a president. Their president, they hired the guy from Syracuse, and he was diagnosed with brain cancer and couldn't take the job. So you've now got, you're an athletics director. You've got no president, no athletic director, basically an interim men's basketball coach because it came so late. So like I say, there's a lot of holes to fill, but again, they keep winning through there. And then the other interesting part of it is Michigan State's athletic director went to Kentucky. So now both Michigan and Michigan State hunting for an athletic director
At the same time.
could be could give if there's somebody who both schools like, you might suddenly have a little bit of leverage, because if you get in there and say, hey, MSU's offering me this and Michigan wants you, if there's somebody who's a candidate for both, it might be a pretty nice leverage spot.
Couldn't you make an argument this is a good place for Michigan to be in? You're washing your hands clean of all this stuff. You're getting whoever you probably want. You're still Michigan. You probably still have all the money in the world. So just go hire whoever you think is the best out there, and you can just leave all this behind it.
Yeah, no doubt. It's like I say, they've been able to, even with shady things going on in the background, they've been able to win national championships in the two sports that you want the most. And so, yeah, it would be pretty easy to bring in somebody who can say, hey, these guys can win even when there's a little chaos in the background. If I can just keep this thing clean, we might be able to really win.
Well, what's interesting is you have two new head coaches in the two biggest sports that you have, and now you're going to have a new boss, much like Oregon State just did. They hired the head coaches for the two main sports, and now you have a new AD coming from Ohio State. And I know we'll talk about that later on this week with Angie Machado as everyone's starting to come back to school. And we'll get more of an insight into what's going to go on with Jamarcus Shepard's program up at Oregon State. But it's similar, not similar. Don't you think that was probably more gamesmanship than anything else? Just like, you know what, that gets some people to put their eyeballs, because honestly, I don't think Jamarcus Shepard had a depth chart really that he could give Phil Steele that was going to be in print for the entire season.
No, you're right. But I think once Phil says, no coach has ever done that, you probably say, oh, okay, hang on. I'll draw one up on a napkin and send it over to you. I'll just, put all my seniors and returning starters on there and do this. I'm sure Phil said, hey, everybody's always giving me one. Be like, well, I'm not gonna. That was a little odd.
Well, but don't you think as well, and all deference to our friend Phil Steele, because he's been on our previous program before, is you don't necessarily have to air that out to anyone. You can just put it in the page and just go, listen, he didn't provide us one. We're going to try and guess. You could have done it like that instead of getting on a radio show. And now it's a little sound right.
Radio show, and I think they probably asked, hey, what did Jamarcus Shepard do? So I guess I don't know what the questions that came in. Are we getting Phil Steele on this year?
We should try. I haven't booked him out yet, so I think that's the producer's job. I'm gonna look across the way to Baby J and do that. All right, let's take our top of the hour break. Sports Bite coming up with Vegas. When we come back next hour, we'll start it out strong with John Strong, the voice of the World Cup. He is freshly landed back home, and we will get his insights, and maybe we'll get him to do a goal call for us when we come back on the Sports Animal. It's the Drive Sports Animal, Eugene. Sports Animal, The Drive here for a Monday. Thanks for tuning in wherever and however. And if you're joining us on the video, hello on old YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, and do we have the CW on this at all? Are we doing that on CW? Mims, did you work your magic?
Yeah.
Don't you know people?
It's not part of my contractual duties for this show.
Okay. Okay, so we need to talk about your contract. Is that what you're talking about?
Contract, it's over there. It doesn't mention anything about getting us on specific network.
Okay, it also doesn't mention anything about the owner sponsoring a trip to Cancun, which was already resolved apparently in the first hour. Our poll question, which is up on the YouTube, and we'll need to make sure we get these things on all the other socials as well as we move along, is could Lionel Messi play in the EPL, the European Premier League, or the English Premier
Does
League?
he have the ability?
Does he? Okay, well, I could have
No,
worded
no,
that a
I'm
little
just
different.
clear. I always
Does he
clarify.
have the ability to play in the EPL? I think that's fair. So, but wildly differing opinions between Dom and Justin, which almost came to fisticuffs. The voices were raised not just once, but a couple of times. Let's head on over to our Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673. He was the sports director at KWVA. He's moved on to big and better things, and you heard him yesterday, as I did, and millions of more throughout the world, as he called another World Cup final his third one. It is the great John Strong joining us and blessing us with his presence here on the Sports Animal and the Drive. John, welcome. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this has got to be a heady experience, and we start to throw the whole, theory out is how can MLS capitalize on the fervor and the excitement and the attention that was generated from the World Cup? And the question is, can they, and how do they? Mhm.
John Strong from Fox Sports with us here on the drive. And John, there were some changes coming into this tournament. It went from a 32 team knockout to 48. There were some questions about that coming in, and I think it personally worked really, really well. We saw some things that we wouldn't have seen in that traditional 32. So in your opinion, what worked so well for this World Cup? Because I think overall it's been very well received. And what do you think might need to change going forward?
John, you had the best seat in the house, obviously for all these games, and you've been through Europe, you've been to World Cups in Russia, Qatar. As you look down, was kind of the fervor from the American fans and also maybe the knowledge, you know, the way they were reacting as things were happening, did it feel like it was anywhere else? Mhm.
It's John Strong joining us, the voice of World Cup soccer. This is his third go around, 2018, 2022, 2026. John, you've seen a lot of the world when it comes to the beautiful game. So is it hard to describe to folks outside the U.S. what it means to the rest of the world and how fervent they are?
and see how the board should do also.
John, U.S. gets to the round of 16, which has become a common spot for them to then have the run end. Do you feel like U.S. soccer as a general took a step forward with the performance? It felt like those early games in particular really had fans excited and thinking, hey, maybe these guys can win. The Belgium lost aside. Do you feel like taking soccer from 22 or from 26 to 30 that U.S. soccer is progressing in terms of the national team?
And that's the interesting thing, that 8 years really focusing on getting to the I think we keep trying to break down that last deal that we with most countries outside of these examples what we do. Which is one that because they're 30, 40 years ago, they go to the same country get these buses. So how do we craft through that? They think they want, but I'm talking about the piece so they try focus on it.
And speaking of those teams, obviously Spain and Argentina in this final, England not quite making it there. They can't really get over the hump, but they have a lot of talent, maybe a little bit older than maybe a Spain or a France, who's definitely going to be around. Are there any other teams that you're looking out there, maybe in Norway, Brazil, that you think, obviously 4 years is a long time, but there's upcoming tournaments as well, that by the next World Cup, you think is going to be a serious contender? Right.
John Strong, Fox Sports. You heard him almost an entire month of coverage for World Cup soccer, and he joins us here on the Sports Animal, The Drive, the inaugural show in Eugene and in Newport on KNCU Fox Sports Newport. John, we do again appreciate your talent, lending it to us here on this little program, and follow your career ever since you were at KWVA, wet behind the years with John Canzano, and then on your own. And what a credit you are to the beautiful game. And thanks for your time today.
Good luck with that flat tire, John.
Are we going to do another plug for Les Schwab? We had one from Mike Parker before on this program, so I don't know. All right, John, thanks, buddy.
Thanks, John.
There he goes. All right, there he goes, the great John Strong. And again, Goose is putting a hole in my $400 banner behind me every time he leans back. All right, let's take a break, guys. You want to talk about baseball after we get there? Yeah, that was great. I love John Strong. That's hopefully we can be regular.
We can be buddy.
Well, yeah, I know you would love that. I mean, you got a lot to talk about. You're the one who made the get, so good for you. So we've got the dust settling in baseball for the state schools. Do we?
Yeah,
Oregon State?
I've got some intel that I got this week.
I know you do. When we come back, it's Goose, Baby J, and Doc. It's Vegas in the control room. This is the Sports Animal, Eugene. Back here on the drive, Fox Sports Newport and the sports animal in Eugene. Thanks for tuning in. It's Danny, Steve, and Justin for 3 hours daily. Yes, your ears are not deceiving you. We are taking over the 3 to 6 spot in Eugene, and in a couple of weeks, beyond. More to come. You can catch us on YouTube. And again, we do know that there's a couple of technical things going on. The only time I'm going to bring it up is this one more time, and then I'm done talking about it. Travis Demers coming up at the top of the hour. I'm just going to go ahead and just say it. The mayor of Rip City is going to be with us. And in the 5 o'clock hour to be Kenny Niles from the Eugene Challengers, North Eugene Highlanders. They've got a big tournament coming up down in Medford. Starts on the 25th, and that is the state championships.
Winner goes to regionals, which is also in Medford, Oregon.
So 35 wins, 35-5 on the season. They
Correct.
dropped a couple to Lewis Clark this past, I guess it was just a couple of days ago. Saturday night, doubleheader, 2 7-inning games, but really good program and historically good for the last couple of years. Challengers have been really, really good. And in fact, they've had so many kids come out that they have added, a couple of teams.
Yeah, they got
The overhead door challenges, yeah.
The Aardvarks, another one on there. They've got.
That's the Aardvarks? That's awesome. I saw the Olies. I didn't know about the other one. So let's talk a little, start on baseball. And by the way, if you missed any of the program, we'll have replays and clips and other things like that. John Strong, which was awesome. He literally just got back from New York, New Jersey at the Meadowlands, the old Meadowlands. It's not, we'll call it that. And then he gets to Portland, he gets a flat tire.
Well, I tell you what, he sounded like he's spoken into a microphone before. He's a pretty good guest to have on. You don't have to come up with a whole lot of questions to get through a segment with him. He knows the game.
So we'll do a quick segment here, but I do want to talk, since we are going to have Kenny Niles on next hour, we can probably dive back into this. So let's just start. Where did you want to start with college baseball? Because the Ducks and the Beavs, now the draft's been done. So any of those high school recruits that would have gotten an opportunity to play Major League Baseball and they want to go sign the check and forego their college eligibility can do that. Those that entered, like for Oregon, there were several that went down to the MLB pre-draft workouts and others. What's interesting to me is like kids are getting drafted in the 10th and 15th round if they're making those decisions to go ahead and dive in. And I guess it would be situationally driven by what program, what club is drafting you. And you take a look at the depth chart and who's above you in all the different leagues, classifications, and figure out where your best chance is. So I think it's kind of the bleeding has been equal for both Oregon and Oregon State, I would imagine. If I take a look, Ethan Kleinschmidt, he's gone for Oregon State. Eric Segura, they just got battered in the pitching ranks. Wyatt Queen, Isaac Yeager, and Albert Robles. I mean, that's 5 players from Oregon State, all pitchers that got taken in the MLB draft.
Well, there's a reason they got the best pitching staff, and that doesn't even include the best pitcher on the staff, Dax Whitney,
who's coming back because nobody's drafting him this year.
Coming back to rehab. I don't know if he's going to be pitch next season.
They said get the tail end of the season if he wants to throw a few innings. So
he could if he wants to show up for scouts because he's projected as a top 5 pick next year.
Okay.
I did see that Maddox Maloney signed. So he signed for $344,000 with the Detroit Tigers after going in the 6th round. So congratulations to a true local Thurston High graduate and U of O Duck, Maddox Maloney, off to the pros with the Detroit Tigers. So,
and we're going to get him, on.
Yeah, he's busy, and I can vouch for that. I've chatted with him a couple of times for some stories I've been doing, and he's been kind and generous with his time. But I've tried to get him in and out pretty quick because I know with the draft with a lot going on. So it'll be fun to catch up with him maybe once he reports to the minor leagues and has a little time there. But Maddox did sign. What I was going to get into was I was talking this weekend with some folks who are pretty into the local baseball community, and they said that they had heard Angel Laya to LSU was $500,000 and that Berkeley Mabius was $250,000. That doesn't even include Junior Milwaukee. So those two right there was $750,000. And this person told me that they think that's about half of Oregon's total budget. Oregon's in that 125 to 15. So that tells you now why the folks, and it's not a surprise, that's why players are leaving, but it tells you kind of the difference between what these SEC schools have, where obviously maybe it's with Mississippi State, LSU, Georgia for junior. That's kind of the battle that Waz is fighting right now, is if you've got 1.5 million, and somebody else can spend half that on one play. I mean, if you spend if you try to match in July, it's 500,000. That's, you know, what, 1/3 your budget. So I think it's it was interesting to hear some of those numbers, and those aren't confirmed, obviously, but I think who I was talking to was at least close enough to be in the ballpark, no pun intended. But that basically, if they would have tried to match Laya and Berkeley Mabius, it would have probably equaled about half their budget.
Well, it's not just the players, though. The last 2 years, Oregon has lost top-level assistants. Blake Hawkinson last year to Oklahoma State and Jack Martyr this year.
I was also told that Martyr doubled his salary.
So that
In
it's,
Texas took him more than what he was making places on.
I mean, it's easy to focus on the players, right? Because that's all we talk about is NIL and deals and all of that. But it's also the coaching staff that gets sucked into this. So that's where I'm also driving to that, is because these players that are getting recruited and they form relationships with these coaches, don't dismiss that that's a part of it. Maybe that was the reason Berkeley maybe has hung on for a couple more years. And maybe, I'm sure he got an offer last year, but also with Waz in his thinking, this is just me saying, I don't know anything different, is that he would never want to lose a player like Berkeley maybe is. However, he's got a kid in Braden Jackson that is going to sit there behind the dish now. And I don't think he's taken any steps backwards with Braden Jackson. That's my opinion.
No, I mean, I think Braden Jackson is going to be a great player, but I think it is interesting how at this point in college sports, particularly in a sport like baseball, in a university like the University of Oregon, it's not an SEC school. I know you love that, Vince, but he has to make business decisions. It's not a personal decision at all at that point. I can tell you from talking to Berkeley Mabius that guy loves Watts. I talked to him about this first. I said, what's it like playing for Watts? I love that guy. And he went on and on and on about it. So I highly doubt anything changed with their personal relationship. But like you're saying, you got a guy in Braden Jackson who he's been playing first just because they wanted to get his bat in the lineup. But the fact that guy is as good of a hitter as he is, and he can catch, sky is the limit for this guy, for Braden Jackson. So if you're going to have to make a decision, that's one of the guys where I feel like for Berkeley, it just became like, okay, like, I don't think we can match this and also keep the rest of the roster the way we want it. And that's just reality.
Well, the domino effect then is that you get Jackson, take him off of first base for the DH role and put him behind the plate. Now you're opening up potentially 1 or 2 more positions for bats in the lineup.
Yeah, and you're going to need that because you've got Maloney gone, Cooney gone. Now you're going to need a first base, so you're going to have plenty to fill there.
Well, and other guys, by the way, 7 draft picks by the Ducks in the top 20 rounds. That was a program best for Waz's team.
Yeah.
And a program best in the history of the Ducks. Cal Scolari, Miles Gastola, Devin Bell. You mentioned Maddox Maloney. Drew Smith was taken. Third baseman Jack Brooks. Now, a little bit lower in the draft. Of course, you mentioned Ryan Cooney, who was the first one to go going third the first day.
Yeah. And then speaking of, there has been news in the last 2 weeks, even though you haven't been on the air to report it. But Ryan Feynman was the addition to the staff after Jack Martyr left. And it's interesting, he came from Troy, which if you're just a general sports fan, you might think Troy was in the College World Series this year, and Feynman was the recruiting director over there. So he put together a College World Series team on a budget, right? I mean, we don't think that Troy has $15 million in baseball money that they're spending out there. So here's a guy who's shown an ability to go out and get some guys that are maybe a little under the radar, which it's kind of the way Oregon's going to have to play. If you can't match the budget of some others, you got to find some other folks out there. Ryan Feynman comes in and is the newest addition to Waz's staff.
Recruiting coordinator, assistant coach, works with catchers, by the way, and assisted in hitting and recruiting Alabama before Troy. And right before that, the stop was at Old Dominion. So he's got some good schools behind him. And he was a 4-year starter as well as a player at Indiana. And not very old. That was from 2016 to 19. He was a player.
So he might have played with your buddy Cal Schwarber at Indiana.
What year?
2016 to 2019.
Nope. Kyle Schwarber drafted
A little bit before that?
in 14.
Okay. So there you go. So
Maybe he saw him on his recruiting visit.
Probably did.
So here's the thing we know Ryan Cooney's going to sign, unless he already has, which I've missed. I don't think he has. It's been announced. So Maddox Maloney, really the first one off the board for the Ducks that has been drafted.
I think Scolari did.
Scolari signed as well. Okay.
White Sox.
Yeah.
White Sox, yeah. I mean, he was round 5, and he's a big arm. They're going to be fine. They'll be fine with that. So, all right, let's take another break. When we come back, quick trip around the horn as we're going to go to the big leagues. Who's going to buy? Who's going to sell? We're approaching deadlines. And the race is on, and this is a much more enjoyable conversation for Justin and I, being Cubs fans after the previous 3 weeks. But who's going to sign somebody to help push them over the top when we continue It's The Drive, Sports Animal Eugene, and Fox Sports Newport. The Drive on Sports Animal Eugene. Follow us on the socials and link up to our website, Sports Animal EUG, and also on YouTube, Twitter, Twitch. We'll be all over Facebook and Instagram and all that. All those things are all coming. We're already on several of the platforms right now. So hop on board. We'll be doing a lot of poll questions. We're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have just a good old hootenanny here. Coming up still on the program, Travis Demers at the top of the hour. And then Eugene Challengers, I think it's the Overhead Challengers officially. Is
Overhead Door Challengers
is going to come on around 5:30. So we'll talk about what's upcoming for, we'll talk a lot of baseball in the last hour as well. We just talked a little bit about Oregon State and the draft. And your calls are always welcome. You want to hop on in. The Oregon Man Clinics hotline is open for you at 343-5673.
Quick update following up on that. Cal Scolari signed for $550,000 with the White Sox, and he was the 5th round pick.
So is there also a reason you think? And I think I'm glad you brought up that number because of the reports that people are hearing about what Angel Laya and Junior Luwaki and Berkeley Mabius are signing for. Now, we didn't think Berkeley Mabius was going to enter his name into the draft. We knew he was going to probably play one more year. catchers aren't probably taken really high unless you're like an Adley Rutschman type guy, right? Am I wrong
Yeah,
with
I
that?
mean, I forgot the guy's name. The Georgia catcher was drafted in like the
Jackson,
second round.
yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, he hit like 330, a bunch of home runs, and yeah, it wasn't even a first round pick.
But to my point, the signing bonus and the such that they're going to get in salary, I mean, it's almost behooves these guys if they're going to play one more year of college ball, just stay in and make $500,000 and stay in the collegiate ranks and maybe improve your standing and your stature even more for the next year.
If the 500 number for Laya is close, then he made more than Maddox Maloney did as a signing bonus, and Maddox got drafted in the 6th round. So that's go. Now Laya didn't have a choice. I mean, you can't leave after your freshman year in college baseball, so he had to go somewhere. But you can be in a situation if 2 years from now, a guy like that's getting 500,000 is projected to go 6 to 10 round, and it's 300 and some odd thousand in the signing bonus. You're starting to see some guys who are going back for a senior year because they can make more in college than they can get drafted.
Well, do you think something about that's going to change where you have an Angel Laya who just like, if he basically goes from high school, he can just do that, right? Basically, if he would have gone out of high school, he could have gone.
But
now
not after freshman.
2 years.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you're
Do you
going
think that's going to change?
I think you're going to start seeing,
More high schoolers?
well, the MLB wants to change the draft to where it only be 2 years you have to. You can't get drafted out of high school, but you only have to go 2 years out of college. But that's a different deal. But yeah, say that you're Angel Laya, or you're a top high school guy.
I would love to be Angel Laya.
Angel Laya, who say you're somebody who is drafted coming out of high school, you think you're going to be picked in around 6 through 10. That's about 250,000 signing bonus. Then you say to yourself, hey, LSU's paying me 500,000. I'm going to go there for 3 years. I can make 1.5 million going to play in college, where I'm making 300,000, right off the bat in the pros. So it's going to start giving more high school kids are going to go to college because crazy enough, they can make more during those 3 years playing in college than they can in the pros. Now, this isn't going to be the first rounders, the 10 million guys, but yeah, if you're a guy who isn't in that top 5 rounds type situation, you're probably going to make more going to college.
Well, yeah, you just said Cal Scolari. I mean, that's 5th round of the White Sox, and he's $500,000.
Yeah.
So that's not chicken feed, but at the same time, then if he would have put himself out, and he didn't have to sign, by the way, he still had some time, although the draft, if I remember correctly, the draft happened after the transfer portal was closed. So those guys could not have then said, okay, I'm going to go to another
I didn't get what I
school.
wanted.
So now, but the only choice then would be to go back to the school that you came from.
Yeah, but the
and
bigger
say
issue
no.
there, if you come out of your then your negotiation is, hey, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to go back to college for a senior year. Next year, you lose that leverage, and they're going to pay less for seniors because they can't say, hey, I'm not going to sign. I'm going to go get a job at McDonald's. So it's a lot easier to get the leverage, take advantage of the leverage when you're a junior.
Here's the thing, I love it for these kids. I'll just say it. There's a love-hate in this whole thing for me on the business side of collegiate athletics. I'm glad that the college athletes are getting paid. So let's make it that clear, first of all. But this whole thing is just disgusting on some level. That all we're talking about now is these kids making a decision between coming back to school, getting more of an education, and staying with a program versus it's just a huge money grab for, honestly, in all of the major sports. Baseball is the one where you have the highest percentage of washing out because you can get drafted and think of all the levels there are in Major League Baseball and the rosters and how many of those players. I mean, there's a perfect example of the Eugene Enrolls. There are players that are 26, 27, 28 years old now. They're never going to sniff the majors, but they're scuffling around playing ball because they love it, or that's the only way they know how to make a living. And that's where a lot of these kids are destined to do without a college education.
And one other point to that, which I was talking to somebody in Northwest League recently, they're actually paying sort of a living wage now at that. You can make, I think the guys in the M's are making 60.
Well, they contracted though as well. They contracted all the
It
leagues.
used to be in the old days, if you were in state line, you didn't have a big signing bonus. You were making $800 a month or something like that.
Yeah.
Now they've gone through and are actually paying. So you're that 27-year-old guy. Yeah, he might be taking the salary because that's more than he could make in the real world.
I had, and I remember the days, and I think there were probably still some of this going on where Major League Baseball players, not Major League, but minor league baseball players were living with host families because they couldn't afford it otherwise, and the team can't afford to put them up in a hotel for the entire season.
Yeah, it used to be when I first started on the M's beat in like 99, they would all pretty much rent apartments over near Civic Stadium, but they would live 4 to a room to be paying a little bit less. After that, the Padres came in and said, this is crazy. We don't want our guys sleeping 5 to a bed when we're paying these guys to be professional baseball players. So they moved them to what at the time was the Hilton in Eugene. and I don't know which hotel, but I know that the M's for the last 25 years have been staying in a hotel because that's sort of the way it is. But yeah, it used to be that these guys were literally bunking 5 to a room to try to save money on rent.
make
because
ends
they
meet.
weren't making any money.
Sure.
Final thoughts on this conversation, because I know we want to talk about buyers and sellers, but I think that
We'll talk about that next segment.
Well,
Okay.
then we'll continue. I think that it's totally well-meaning. I think there's a reason why for years and years and years. I mean, I remember growing up, if you were to write an essay, you were to write, well, should college players get paid? And I think that generally people have agreed that they should be compensated in some way. Like, I think we can pretty much all agree on that. The conversation about, well, you're getting your education. I agree. Like, there are getting some things with the education, but between the money that the NCAA, these conferences, these schools are making off these players, they should be compensated, right? That being said, we have gone so far over to the other side that I also think everybody could pretty much agree that what the situation right now is unsustainable. Like, I literally can't see what's going on right now. And you got the Brendan Sorsbys of the world, like all this stuff. I think it all is kind of interrelated. And I think that there's going to be major changes in 2030 when all these conference deals are up. Is it 28 or 30? I think it's
30.
I think it's 30.
Staggered.
No,
Too. Some are 30, some are 32.
I think SEC and
36.
I think SEC and Big Ten are both 30 though, and that's when I think the big change is going to come.
Justin, we're already approaching that. You know how? Patches on uniforms in football. So now it's going to be corporate America jumping in, or mom and pop places jumping in, and we're going to have NASCAR on these uniforms, where it's going to be sponsored by this, sponsored by that, sponsored by this field. There's already field naming all over the place, but the individual donors that are trying to support things through an NIL collective is just a small piece of the pie. So they have to start going after corporate America or bigger businesses to lean in. And that only way that works is if somebody's getting some benefit out of it in terms of advertising.
Absolutely. And I think it's going to be fascinating right here in Eugene with the Ducks and maybe the most famous uniform in all of college football, what they decide to do. Because I think if Oregon decides, hey, we're going to put something besides a Nike logo, which they, by the way, already have one, which of course it's Oregon. But if they decide, hey, we're going to put Chick-fil-A on our uniform as a patch, I think that you're going to see it around every single team around the nation.
We already see it in start. And yeah, I mean, you're right. And the other option is to say we don't have enough money to spend and compete with the top teams. You're not doing that, so you're just going to keep trying to find revenue sources. That's one of the reasons that Rob Mullen's a really good AD. He's the guy who has been able to find revenue sources and seek them out. And yeah, I mean, you're going to start showing off every part of your body that you have to make more money. I mean, look, hey, especially if you're a baseball program that's losing players to the SEC, at some point your coach comes to you and says, hey, I need more money in this thing because I can't keep up with those guys. Don't expect me to be getting you, hosting in top 10 team in the country if you're not going to give me a top 10 roster type thing. So that's the situations that are going to happen. But you are right. I talked to a coach once who said that we just act right now like just money is endless. Like we're just going to be able to, he said, at some point we're going to hit a day of reckoning to where we're all going to be spending and we're not going to have the money. Money doesn't just keep flowing and flowing. At some point, you got to generate it. And at some point we may run out, but maybe we're starting to see that in some places.
Okay, we're going to take a break here. And when we come back, we'll get to this topic that I wanted to start with in this segment. And I got us off the rails, so that's fine. It's Steve over there. It's Justin over here. And I'm Doc. And over there in the studio, it's Vegas pushing all those buttons. We've got who's going to buy, who's going to sell in Major League Baseball, talking about money. And then top of the hour, it's Travis Demers, the mayor of Rip City here. Stay tuned. The Sports Animal Eugene. It's The Drive. All the way out there in Newport as well. Hello, friends, on KNCU, Fox Sports Newport. Back. All right. Last segment of hour number 2. It's been a breeze.
We're doing a third hour?
You don't read the fine print when I send you emails or texts or stuff, Goose. I'll have to say that the first 2 hours have flown by.
Yeah.
It's so I don't know what's so hard about this.
You do 2 hours. Normally you're on to Wednesday in the week, but now you're still finishing up your Monday.
Well, what the thing is now I'm going to have to adjust the schedule in the Havel household when dinner time.
Yeah, me
happens.
too. I've had that discussion as well. So
Okay, you can turn
I
that
thought
down just a little bit, Blaze.
you're not
can-
5:30 in the
Look at me, please. No, I made some stuffed zucchini. Have you ever done a stuffed zucchini? That's got to be a drop right there. Have you ever had a stuffed zucchini or done a stuffed zucchini? No. So what you do is you hollow out a little bit. You still have what the meat of the zucchini is. They have to be, big boats. And then you hollow it out a little bit. You got to bake that zucchini, a little salt, a little water in the oven at like 375 for maybe 40 minutes or so. And then what I do is I take some ground turkey and ground sausage, brown that up, and then a little, we do a roasted garlic tomato sauce. And then I mix all that together. And I fill the boat with the meat, and then I put a little cheese on the top of it and bake that again for about another 30 minutes or so.
Well,
It's fantastic.
maybe you can bring him in for dinner some night. We'll have
We got more zucchini coming out of the garden. It's just, you plant one zucchini plant, you're done. I'm giving away zucchini for like ages. What is what happens? So, all right, looks like we got the mayor in line, huh? Okay, good. We'll just hold him right there until the top of the hour. So just you and me right now. So who needs to buy, who needs to sell Major League Baseball? To me, I think there's another week or so before we really start seeing more activity on who buys, who sells. There's a couple of divisions, like NL Central is one of them, that are really still very competitive. There are other divisions that it's already somebody running away. So now it's like, I think I know you follow baseball pretty closely. I think the key to this whole thing is that if a team thinks they are 1 or 2 players away from winning the whole thing this year, that is the only barometer that they go off of.
Yeah.
Is that it's got to be this year, right?
Well, I think particularly you look at Milwaukee, which has been close a couple of times, but hasn't gotten to the top, and now they've got the best record in baseball, but feel like they still need a starting pitcher or two with the Brandon Woodruff injury they just had. Logan Henderson just came back, but Nisorowski, it sounds like there's some question about how much they're going to be able to use him in the second half. So I think a team like that has been mentioned. Freddie Peralta, who they traded to the Mets in the offseason, could come back, but I think Milwaukee is one of those that, you've been 2 years in a row in the playoffs. You've been in the hunt, haven't even gotten to the series. I think looking at Milwaukee, that'll be a team to me that's time to go all in. They got a really good list of prospects in the minors as well. So I think that's a team that needs to go all in. And then the other one for me would be the Mariners, who last year did it. We saw them go after Naylor and Suarez last year. And I think this year, I think they have too much. They have an extra pitching and not enough hitting. So I'd like to see them deal one of those pitchers for a bat.
Well, so to me as well, when you take a look, the wild card teams, like right now, if the Cubs were in the AL, they would have the second best record in the American League.
Yeah.
But in the NL, they have the third best record, but they're six. I mean, Milwaukee, every time the Cubs go on a little streak, Milwaukee is right there with them. And the Cubs had that horrific 10-game losing streak after winning 10 in a row. I mean, they were up and down like a yo-yo in April, May, and June, early June. But now they've kind of righted the ship. I think they're 13 games above 500. So that's going to be, that central race is going to be really interesting. Dodgers are still kind of running away, with everything, with that big lineup. And then the NL East looks interesting to me as well. But all those teams are kind of middling a few games above 500. Nobody's running away with anything in the NL.
Yeah.
And in the AL, Seattle again, you never thought that Seattle was going to keep coming back. And they just keep putting in waves. So yeah, 1 or 2 pieces, but it'll be interesting to see who the sellers are and what they give up for it as well. I mean, the Pirates, who were there for a second, they feel like, because they're wallowing in 4th place, they're I think 5.5 games out of the last wild card spot now.
Yeah.
So I mean, do you even leverage a Paul Skeens? Do you say, I can get a whole bunch of stuff and he can get onto a winner?
No, not at this point for him, but.
I mean, that's such a small market club, though. I mean, are they going to be able to afford him the next time? They gave up half their money for him and went all in. They thought this year's was going to be a better year, and they started out that way.
Yeah, no, I mean, they'll keep him, but the question would be, do they try to buy and get some stuff in to not lose another year of him? But we'll see, they've never been they don't have a great prospect system either, but they've never really been what we've looked at. They're giving up a whole lot.
Well, I know our next guest coming up is going to be one that will have some thoughts on baseball as well. I know he's got thoughts on the World Cup as he watched that. And of course, he'll be discussing with us what happened today with a free agent signing out of the Blazers camp. And when we come back, and Justin just got back on. So we're going to take our break now to the top of the hour. We'll have a sports spot on the other side. And then it is our good friend, the mayor of Rip City. It's Travis Summers, who is on the line and waiting for us. We'll see him on YouTube right around the corner. Join us next on the Sports Animal Eugene for the Drive. Final hour coming up. All right, thanks, Vegas. We begin the last hour here on the Sports Animal and the Drive. Thanks for tuning in wherever and however, including on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. That's where we got our video portion up. Should we put the poll back up again on the Twitch and the Twitter and all that stuff, guys? Should we put it back up? I'm asking.
I think so. I want to know. I think it was tied 1-1.
Okay, so I'll put the show. Put it back up. It's in the corner right there, and it's could Lionel Messi play in the English Premier League? That's a yes or no.
Does he have the ability to play?
Does he have?
Is he good enough?
Is he good enough?
Is he good enough to play in the EPL? And
Dom's over there smiling.
He's shaking
He
his
knows
head.
that he got himself on there.
Yeah, he opened up a can of worms and a Justin can of whoop ass earlier today. So, all right, let's head on over to our guest line here on the last hour of the drive and welcome him. He's a great friend of ours. You can follow him on the socials, Travis Demers, and it is the mayor of Rip City. It is the great Travis Demers joining us live. Travis, good afternoon, evening. This is the first time you are our latest guest thus far.
Yeah, I mean, usually I'm a lot earlier in the day, but it's weird seeing all of your faces and like clearly and not on a phone. It's weird. I like it.
So, buddy, how's the offseason been for you? Because the news just broke that free agent forward Matisse Thybulle has agreed on a 1-year, $3.3 million deal with the Lakers, who are now, we're going to talk about LeBron later on this hour. Great defensive player. I don't know what his shooting percentage would be, although he's shooting 42% from the three-point line over the past 2 seasons, but he's been kind of broken, only 45 total games. What do you think of this?
Well, it's too bad I have to hate him now because I liked Matisse. And I mean, as soon as somebody puts on that uniform, even if I like them, they just all of a sudden become this, evil person because they're wearing that uniform. It doesn't matter who they are. You guys could wear a Lakers uniform and I'd want to punch you in the face. That's just what comes with being the Lakers. I mean, it's just how it is. And maybe not Justin, but Steve, Danny, you for sure.
Oh, wow.
No, even you too, Justin. I would want to punch you if you were wearing a Lakers jersey. But it's too bad because I really like what Tease brought to this team. To your point, Danny, it's unfortunate that he's been as banged up as he has the last few years. And there was a lot of talk around the deadline last year from fans that, well, if he's not going to play, we might as well just, waive him so we can, bring one of the two-way guys onto a regular spot. And it turned out that when he was healthy, he had a really big impact. Yeah, he shot 40+% from three, and that was great because, well, nobody else did on that team, and they really needed it. But his ability to defend, especially on the perimeter, block three-point shots, it seemed like he was averaging a couple of steals a night in the limited time that he did play. When he's out there, he makes an impact, but he's also one of those players that's kind of like a luxury to have on your team, right? If you're trying to build, he's not the right guy for your team because he's not going to help, get you to a level of competence. But if you feel like you're close, he's the type of guy that can get you to that extra level over the top.
Travis, did we see some growth from Young Hansen during the summer league? Were we able to see, did we get any progress there?
Maybe. I mean, look at last year's summer league and he looked pretty good, right? And then in the preseason, there were some things that he did that looked really good. But then you put him against NBA competition and he wasn't ready yet. And I'm not saying he's not good or he doesn't have a chance to be good. I'm just saying he wasn't NBA ready yet last year, and really it wasn't close. So naturally, he's 21 years old now. He's got a year under his belt. His English is better. His understanding of the American game is better. His comfortability in this country is better. So all of those things with the natural progression of basketball from year one to year two, I would expect him to be better. Does that mean he is going to be ready to contribute this year? I don't know. I'm not comparing him to Giannis. I'm not comparing him to Jokic, but it took those guys more than a year to compete. And I think the rawness of Young Hansen's game is more in line with Giannis, and it took him a little bit longer to be a viable NBA player. But there's still some time for him to figure it out. And I know a lot of fans are like, this guy's a bust. He can't play. we should have drafted Cedric Carroll. Cedric Carroll's a role player. The best he is ever going to be is a role player. Could he have helped the Blazers last year? Yeah, but he does not have the potential to turn into a game-changing type player. Maybe Young Hansen is never that guy, but we'll see what happens.
Well, now the aggregators are coming up. The Portland radio announcer compares Jan Hansen to Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo. So
Yes.
get ready for that one, Travis.
Good. Bring it on, Evan Sidery.
Well, I think it's interesting too. I mean, he's done some stuff that you look in the summer league, and it is summer league, but you can draw some conclusions, and it's like, all right, like, okay, like he dunks on a guy or he makes a nice backdoor pass. I guess my question would be, you brought back, and I'd say using the Blazers, Robert Williams III, Donovan Clingan took a lot of steps last year as well. So isn't this almost a good position to be in with Young Hansen? Because we know Robert Williams III probably wasn't going to play 82 games a season. Gives an opportunity. He's not necessarily relied upon to be that direct backup, but gives you a different look. And if you need to get him in there because Robert isn't going to be playing, then it's perfect.
Yeah, and don't forget they also signed Brendan Carlson. So now you have another 7-footer in there. So you have, multitude of guys who can play that position. And Micah Potter can, I guess, play a small 5, but that's not really what he is. But you have a number of guys who can play the center position. And to your point, Rob is not a guy who's going to play 82 games. Last year, I thought they handled him perfectly in terms of, the not playing on back-to-backs. And if he wasn't feeling 100%, not taking any chances and things like that. And that's great. He still played, 60-plus games. And if that's what you get out of him, awesome, because he's going to be ready, mid-late April, and if you go any further than that. So for Young Hansen to not be needed to be the backup center, and you don't need him to play consistent minutes. Obviously, he has to play something, and he has to get on the floor to improve. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if he played an entire G League season and never came up to the Blazers, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world. You don't need him right now. And that was never the intent, was to have him be ready to go right now to contribute. And that's fine because you have bodies at that position. So, yeah, I think in terms of the center position, and we all know that when guys are out, you're in trouble. I mean, there was a game last year where everybody was hurt and Jeremy Grant started at center. That's not what you want. So when you have 3 other very viable NBA centers to varying degrees, and he can be the 4th guy or the 2nd guy, depending on the night, I think you're in a really good spot there.
He's a proud graduate of Long Island University, and when not broadcasting, he is playing Legos. I don't know if it's Tinker Toys or whatever with Lincoln and Lawson. It's Travis Demers joining us. You can follow him on the socials, Travis Demers, and he joins us now live on YouTube. You can see his pretty face and all the memorabilia behind him, and also over the air and online at Sports Animal. EUG joins us on the drive as we get into our 3rd hour here, talking a little basketball with Travis. So Micah Nori is filled out. I believe he's filled out his staff. You want to grade that out for us on?
I don't want to grade it out because I don't know for sure.
Okay.
I've heard some conflicting things about that.
Okay.
And I mean, it sounds like Jay Triano, great, love it, great hire, former NBA head coach. He's been with this organization before. He was with the Blazers the first 4 years under Terry Stotts. He knows what he's doing. Very good coach. But I really don't know for sure who everybody else is. I mean, it sounds like Quentin Crawford's back. It sounds like Nate Bjorkgren is back. But outside of that, I'm not entirely sure. I know Jonah Hurskew, who was the Remix head coach last year, has moved on with Tiago in Chicago. Great opportunity for him. I love Jonah, but I don't know the details specifically of who's on the staff.
Where do you think that needs to be then for the Blazers to solidify this coaching staff? I mean, the clock is ticking. The season's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got your head coach and at least a couple of assistants, right? You've got your lead assistant and Jay Triano, awesome. And then potentially 1 or 2 other guys. So I think really at this point, yeah, it's July and nobody does anything in August. But I think really you're fine. It sounds like Gil Abraham, who was the Summer League head coach, who was a development guy. I love Gil. He's an awesome dude. It sounds like he's going to be back. But I don't know exactly what the depth of that staff is, and I can't get any straight answers yet. And they haven't put out a press release yet of who exactly is going to be back.
Well, I just have to say before I get into my question, you definitely got to tune into this stream because we're getting a new side of Travis that we've never seen before. The facial expressions, very
The dimples,
exactly.
Yeah.
This
the rugged
is
good
great.
looks,
I'm so
the
happy
sandy
that we
blonde
see this.
hair.
I look at this Blazers roster, see a lot of G, I see a lot of C, I see 2 Fs, which is Denny Avdia and Tumani Kamara. So not a lot of wing depth on this team. Obviously, there's been some conversation about can you maybe play Drew Holiday at the 3 position? Like positions are what do they even mean anyway at this point? But you kind of do need some guys that are that 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" type of guys. If you could, a shooter is going to be one of those things, but if you could place the perfect wing on this team, what kind of player do you think would fit?
Man. So at first I thought you were giving them grades, and I'm hearing
I did
C.
too. I didn't know what. I didn't know how Denny got it now.
I'm like, wait, what is a G? Like, did I ever get a grade of a G in school? Like, I know I've gotten some C's. Might have gotten an F or two. Like G, like go home. Like I don't know what G is, but I'm sure I probably could have called. Yeah.
No,
so
it's good.
in terms of like who could they add? Right to your point, right? They don't have a true power forward on this team. Like Micah Potter can play power forward, but he's not your starter. So if you have a lineup that has 2 of the guards, right, and then probably Donovan Clingan, Tumani Kamara, Denny Avdia. Neither of those guys are true power forwards. They played the position a bit last year. I think you've got plenty of versatility and switchability. I don't think you're worried about, the 1, 2, or the 3. All of those positions are covered, but really who plays power forward? And I think on this team, obviously defense helps, but I think someone is Dirk Nowitzki available by any chance? Can you go get him? A guy who, is a 7-footer who can shoot 40% from 3. Somebody who definitely rebounding, somebody who can be versatile, play different spots on the floor, shoot the 3, play in the mid range a little bit, that has some height and, can shoot from the outside, because this team is still desperate for shooting. And I know that Dame coming back adds a lot. And I'm of the belief that Dame is going to play at an all-star level. Not going to be the same player, but I don't see why he still can't be an elite 3-point shooter, why he still can't average 20-plus points a night. He's not going to be driving the same way. He won't quite have the same explosiveness. Again, Micah Potter is going to be at the back end of the rotation. He's a guy who's 6'9", who's a really good 3-point shooter. So to me, you would need somebody who can stretch the floor at that position but still play defense. But whoever it is, you got to have somebody who can shoot the ball. Tumani Kamara at his best is a really good 3-point shooter. He's just not at his best all the time. John Morant is not a good 3-point shooter. Drew Holiday can be. Denny, when he's hot, can be. And you're going to look at his overall numbers from last year and be like, oh my God, his 3-point shooting was awful. Yeah, after he got hurt, his 3-point shooting was awful. But prior to that, it was good. Shaedon Sharpe, his rookie year, was a very good 3-point shooter, and he's regressed every year since, but he also hasn't been healthy. So we don't know what he looks like when he is consistent and healthy and can really fit into a role. So I think there are a few different ways that you can go, and to really know what this team is going to look like and what Mike Inaugural is going to do with this team, it's really hard to pinpoint, okay, that's the guy, unless you've got, Dirk Nowitzki or somebody like that who can be anywhere at any time. Until we know exactly what that's going to look like, I think it's real hard to say that specific type of player is the guy.
Travis, now that we've gotten past the Mike Inaugural contract and we can actually just look at Mike Inaugural, what I've seen from him, feels like a guy who's been around the league for a while, been with a respectable coach and bench, seems pretty confident in himself and kind of ready to prove himself. He seems to me like a real, how they landed on it, this and that. It feels to me like they landed on a guy who could be a pretty good coach.
Yeah, and once the games start, it doesn't matter what his contract is. It doesn't matter how he got there. He's the coach, right? Doesn't matter what he's getting paid. He's the guy, and that's why once the games start, I don't worry about what player is making what percentage of the salary cap, because we heard that so much about Jeremy Grant and Drew Holiday the last couple of years that these guys are making too much money. Well, yeah, they're making a lot of money, but when you put the team together as a whole, it looks pretty good in terms of where that number is. So with Mike Inaugural, everything that I have heard about him, it's awesome. He's a really smart guy. Attention to detail. Not that he doesn't have an ego, because everybody has an ego, but he's trying to prove something. So nothing is going to be too small for him. No detail is going to be too small for him. And that's how we got here in the first place, is his attention to detail, right? And the game plan. I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of him with the game plan that he has on defensively against every star in the league. That's great stuff right there. So when you have the assistants around you to implement that stuff, and somebody who has a vision, an idea of this is how things are going to be, that's great. The thoughts of him having two bigs play at the same time. Those are really important things because this team has some bigs, and because they don't really have a true four, they might have to do that at some point. So, yeah, Steve, I'm with you. I think they have the right guy at the right time, and all of these things that they don't know exactly how it all gets put together, and that's his job to figure it out.
Travis, a couple more questions for you here with the mayor of Rip City, Travis Demers, on the drive. It's Sports Animal EUG. It's Sports Animal Eugene. You can follow us on all the socials, and the new website is up and going. So we talked about Thibault to the Lakers, which means they might be out of the Jonathan Kuminga sweepstakes, but LeBron is keeping all the attention on himself right now yet again.
Weird.
Always does.
And yeah, it's just odd the way that happens. But so if you were a betting man, if you had $50 in your pocket and you had an opportunity to make a prop bet, where does LeBron land?
Man, I think he ends up in the East, right? I don't think, yeah. So what we're hearing is like Miami again or Cleveland again. Could it be one of those places? I actively root against the Miami Heat. So that would just give me another reason to continue to root against the Miami Heat, which is too bad because I really like Giannis. So I'm going to have to root against him now. But, you put LeBron and Giannis on the floor together, and just the spacing is going to be terrible. And I would love to see LeBron go to Miami and just crash and burn. And it's not that I don't respect LeBron. LeBron's one of the greatest players I've ever seen. Sure. I hate the GOAT debate because him and Michael Jordan are so different players in two completely different eras. You could make the case that both of them were the greatest player of all time, and I think you could make that case well. I'll take Michael Jordan every day. I'd take Kobe before I took LeBron, and to me, that's not even a question. But LeBron at this stage of his career is still elite, and whatever team he goes to, he's going to make that team better. If I'm looking objectively at it and say, which team do I think LeBron would have the best chance to win a championship and takes that team to a championship place, it's Cleveland. That team was close last year. Obviously, some injuries and things like that certainly didn't help. And they are very balanced. Obviously, Donovan Mitchell just re-signed. They just added Lou Dort. No, excuse me, that's Atlanta. My brain's a little fried right now. Atlanta was the other team I was thinking of too, is though Atlanta, with all the pieces that they have added, especially on the defensive end, Atlanta, I think, is a very sneaky team. And there were a lot of Knicks fans going into that playoff series against the Hawks thinking, we might lose this thing. And then they go down 2-1. Obviously, we saw what happened from there. But Atlanta, the way they played from February on, I think that's a team that can compete with anybody in the East. And if you put LeBron on that team, Atlanta might be the best team in the Eastern Conference.
Travis, Lakers versus Heat. Whose jersey are you wearing?
A Red Sox jersey?
Yankee fan there.
Yeah, neither. I mean, no, there's no chance I'm wearing either of them.
All right.
What's been the biggest surprise to you over this NBA offseason, which has been pretty full of surprises, I'd say?
Man, and for me personally, Ja to the Blazers, because I never thought in a million years that would happen because of the guard situation for the Blazers. Like, that was really surprising. I don't know that anything else has been too surprising. I think there have been a lot of trades, a lot of player movement, and I still really have to dive into it all. And usually by now I've done a lot of my off-season prep, but I haven't done any of it yet. I'm kind of waiting until I don't know, August, ramp up as the season starts, give my brain a little chance to recoup a little bit. But there's just been so much player movement all over that the league it's just going to look different next year. I was surprised that Minnesota basically just gave up on Julius Randle for nothing. And I think Julius Randle in today's NBA doesn't work. 15 years ago, he'd be a superstar. But the way that he plays, that kind of Carmelo Anthony style of game, just doesn't work today. So I was surprised to see Minnesota do that, but I don't think they took a step back that way. I thought Denver would be more active. I really thought Denver would be more active in terms of building their team and trying to get back over the top. The Thunder have not added a player. The Thunder have stripped the roster down for financial reasons. And the scary thing is they're not any less deep than they were before they moved on from those guys. So to me, it's the Western Conference is very, very deep at the top. And you've got a lot of teams. It's not just Oklahoma City. It's not just San Antonio that are right there. And, San Antonio got a little better too, adding Tobias Harris. I think there are a number of teams in the West that can be right there. And I'm surprised that a couple of them, like Denver, didn't do more to try and compete.
Mayor, last question, and it's our poll question. Could Lionel Messi play in the EPL? Yes or no?
I have no idea. Like I watch Messi play. Like I know his name and I know what he looks like and I know he plays for Argentina. And I watched the game, the match. Is that the match? Yeah. I watched it yesterday. I watched the second half and I watched the extra time. And it was fun. It was fun to watch that. I enjoyed it. But I have no idea if Messi can play, in the EPL. I have no scale or frame of reference of how that is. Like if you could give me a comparison, maybe, but in terms of like soccer, I would insult anybody who cares about soccer if I tried to answer that question.
Well, I got to ask. It's it's a fair question, and this is something Justin's really passionate about.
Try to give a comparison, and maybe like, and Dom's sitting over there
because Dom says no.
Maybe like if LeBron was playing at his age right now, because that's kind of similar to what Messi is. He's 39. It'd be like if LeBron was playing in, say, like maybe not even Spain in like the Spanish league, but somewhere like kind of like the Spanish league for basketball, and then decided to go to the NBA again after not being there for 4 or 5 years. That'd be kind of like that.
I mean, look, how old is Messi? How old is Messi?
39. He's 39.
39. Okay, so he's 39. He's at that age. And from what if I have heard of him, that means he's a big deal, right? So is he one of the elite soccer players of this generation? Maybe ever? Would you say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Somebody who is that good at their craft, who has been doing it for as long as he has, can find a way to make a difference in the most elite league in the world, whatever that is. He might not be the guy that he was when he was 29 or 30, but you're telling me that guy with his experience level, whatever it is, at any sport, can't go in and make a difference in some way? So, yeah, he might not be the leading goal scorer or the best player in the league or the best player on the team, but somebody like that of what he does, there's no doubt that he could go in and make some kind of a difference on any team in that league.
All right, Mayor. Well, we thank you for your insight as always. Thanks for coming on the first program for the drive, the reincarnation of 1029 and 1050 AM down here in Eugene. We call it the Sports Animal now, and our 3-hour show. We got 3 hours to fill every day. So
thank you for letting me invite myself. I appreciate it, Danny.
It's great to see you, Travis. It's awesome to see you.
Yeah, I know. I haven't seen you in a while. We got coffee a while back. I think that's the last time I've seen you. And it's been, we got to do that again.
He is not any, he's not any prettier than he was last time you saw him.
Steve, the key is that I'm clean shaven now, and it's because my beard was getting too gray, and I felt like I was looking old. So
yeah, I know what that feels like.
I shaved it, and now I'm clean shaven, and I don't quite look my age. So that's
looking good.
Yeah, you are. You're looking sharp. I same thing, Travis. I had to go because of the gray. Mims is leaning into it though. Mims is leaning into it. It looks good.
Like Steve, it looks natural on you. I had a beard for a handful of years, and a couple of years ago, when Rodney Billups was a scout with the Nets after he was an assistant with us, I ran into him at a game in Houston, and we exchanged pleasantries. And like, wow, the gray's really coming in. Like, not anymore. That was my cue.
I'm also considerably older than you, Travis, so I can show the gray at 55. I may not have had it at 41, 42 like you and LeBron, but I can do it now.
Yeah, no, again, he leans into it. Travis, thanks again, buddy. Take care of those kiddos.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, there he goes, the great Travis Demers, the mayor of Rip City. One more break, and we're going to do a long segment, the last one, guys, okay? Long segment, the last one. We're going to have Kenny Niles on, Eugene Challengers and North Eugene Highlanders baseball coach. Big weekend coming up for the Challengers down in Medford as they are going to try and win a state championships. And we'll be following right along with it. We'll have the coach on next and our thoughts on, well, what? Let's talk about a little bit more about LeBron if you want at the end of the show. I mean, it seems to be easy to do when we come back on The Drive. It's Sports Animal Eugene. We'll kick around the whole LeBron thing again at the top of the hour. Well, close to the top of the hour. And also we'll end the show with a dad joke. How about that?
We're doing a 4th hour?
No, we are not doing a 4th hour. I can only be locked in this room with you guys for 3 hours at a time.
I
So there's
podcast is called.
what, locked in a room with 2 other guys?
No, the 4th hour, maybe.
I'll let you guys do the podcast after that. Okay, podcast only version. The poll question is still up on the folks that are on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter and such. It's could Lionel Messi play in the EPL? So if you have an opinion, weigh in. I was thinking about it now. It would be like yes, no, don't care. I could have put that on there.
We got a couple don't care.
We probably could have been don't care. So
It'd be just like soccer. There's three different
ways you can outcomes. All right, let's head on over to the Oregon Man Clinics hotline. We're going to lock that up right now for you at 343-5673. First time guest, but known him for a little while, and he coaches baseball at North Eugene High School. And also for your overhead door Eugene Challengers who are heading down to Medford to take on the field as the favorites to win a state championship, it's Kenny Niles. Coach, welcome to the program, the first show on the drive in sports animal Eugene history. So thanks for being here. Yeah. Thanks, Coach. We're happy to have you here. So for people who are not familiar with the Challengers first, can you give everybody like a quick education on how the Challengers are formed? Because I mean, it's really, truly some of the best of the best.
Yeah, Steve Mims here. You were 35-3, and then I came out and jinxed you on Saturday, and you dropped a couple there. Heading into state, though, I mean, 35-5 is a pretty wild record. Just kind of give us a little overview of what's been the strength of this team this year and how you feel. And I know coming off of a doubleheader sweep doesn't feel great, but just how you feel this team is heading into the state tournament.
So we're trying to get these guys to form a bond. So there's 24 teams really good.
And your pitching staff, you mentioned it's nice to be able to put together kind of a local all-star team, but you get Gianni Lombardi from Marist and Michael Bushelman, who you coached at North Eugene, and Kyle Miller, who's an old Thurston guy. You guys have put together a staff that, you know, there maybe not be an ace, but kind of 1 through 5 can all play that role in any given day.
For over 20 years, he's been patrolling and prowling the dugouts and the baselines in North Eugene ball fields. It's Kenny Niles joining us as the head coach of the Overhead Door Eugene Challengers and also North Eugene, the Highlanders school that is near dear to my heart because my daughter's going to be a senior there next year. So, Kenny, you and I run each other during the football season as well. And I always still thank you for getting us up there where the wind tunnel was on the back of the baseball stands for North Eugene football. So thanks again for that. That was awesome that you were able to help us out. The league season, you went 11-1. You've got the postseason starting in Medford, July 25th. You mentioned it a little bit. So as you take a look at the talent on your roster and as you build, and by the way, you might want to mention, and I think you should, is that the turnout for you guys this year was incredible in terms of how many teams you were able to put together because of the interest in Challenger baseball. Wow.
Hey, Kenny, the Challengers, I mean, it's a rich history. Obviously, you know this going back to Gary Selby, Donnie Harrell, Corey Nicholson. You've been the steward now for the last 8 to 10 years. But, I mean, this is really a well-run group. You got a board of directors, like you mentioned, Swedes Johnson Stadium might be the best high school Legion
Absolutely.
stadium in the area. For you there, this isn't, we see some Legion teams that come in and, after 2-3 years, they fall away. Cool for you to kind of be the head of one that's been around for a while and, has staying power. So, the stuff that you build up will continue on down the road. Wow.
I think up here on the ground and we're doing really well. It's not really quite as well. But pushing out like baseball, big fast and down. And the difference that's the air with the stadium, our butt, it's going to take the challenge over 50 years of amateur baseball about it. It's pretty not cool. It's still going.
So I do want to talk about what you're going to see in Medford and how you guys have been knocking on the door for a World Series in the last couple of years. But you mentioned the sponsors, and absolutely you want to celebrate them because those people are putting their dollars behind helping kids grow. But I also want to talk about the parents, the relatives that are hauling people back and forth to practice, traveling, and they follow you everywhere. And I know you have a very special group of parents, relatives, and fans that follow the Challengers. Yeah.
Pretty cool. It's kind of going to go on here for our challenge. Back into base stuff. So, when we took the keys, but I think community home and really get players doing your high school program. Their fall.
Kenny, heading down, like we say, state tournament, you get through that. The regionals are in Medford this year. That's what would get you to the World Series. You mentioned, I think Hillsdale's your opener. The Portland Barbers are a team that's always up there. Medford's good. You split the doubleheader with them earlier this year. Breaking down this field, I know you said, hey, it's a tough bracket for us. You guys are, one can be one of the better teams, but this would be a gauntlet to get through. Oh,
that a boy, Kenny. Knock him down a notch.
There's solid yards everywhere, and most of the guys, that's the excellent balance for the game. To ourselves, or being good, it should be a good hit. But so we got to make sure we limit strikeouts, find all run. Well, Coach, go get them this weekend, and hopefully you get to keep booking those rooms down in Medford for another week as well, as it starts on the 25th in the regionals. Thanks, Coach. We appreciate you. Well, let's hope.
Kenny.
Yeah, we'll get you back, man. You keep winning, we'll get you back. Okay.
Thanks for keeping it clean. We didn't need any duck buttons or 8-second delays. We appreciate that.
Yeah, you did awesome, Coach. Thanks. There he goes, Kenny Niles, and we kept it all PG. This is not Sirius XM
Family program.
All right, last segment here, as we'll talk. We'll throw a little potpourri. We got LeBron James. I think we could talk about that for 10 minutes. Why not? Let's just do that, and we'll throw our picks in the pot on where we think LeBron's going to go and how much longer he's going to stretch this out. One last time on the poll question, we'll reveal the results of that. And Dad Joke, we wind up here on The Drive, Sports Animal Eugene, and Fox Sports Newport.
All right, last segment of the inaugural program of the drive. This is going to have to wear clothes for every show now.
Gets any hotter in here, maybe some topless shows.
Please
Thumbs
don't.
up.
Well, I guess
That's my threat to you to cool it off in here, but.
I guess the YouTube and the Twitter and the Twitch and the Instagram is going to gain a bunch of fans or not.
How about a thanks? Can I show this on here?
Yeah.
We have a super fan, and we want to give a shout out to our super fan who wrote us, gave us some wine and some cheese and crackers.
Now I'm going to show this.
Yeah. And
Champagne.
to the anonymous super fan of the drive, who was a super fan before we even started. So thank you very much. We appreciate that.
This
That
guys.
is really, really nice.
Oh,
I really wish I could
Every
thank
time-
everybody for that.
every time you question the goodness of people in this world, somebody like this comes around. But
So-
that's very, very cool.
So I'm sitting in the office earlier today. And by the way, you're listening to the drive. Sports Animal EUG is the website. And Laura, our front office or operations manager, front office person, I guess I gave her a title. So we'll have that. She says, gal walks in and says, I have something for Danny. I was like, not expecting anything. We got a bunch of packages from Amazon earlier as well. And I'm like, okay. She comes out, she has this big bag and she brings it to me and says, I'm not supposed to say where this is from, but somebody wanted to give you guys something. So I'm dropping these all over the place.
Wow. Well, thank you very much. We hope you're listening out there. And if you are and you sent this to us, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. Even though Danny can't move things around,
Knocking things around like a,
yeah.
yeah. So, and honestly, if you don't want to be recognized on the air, I appreciate that. But if you would at least call the radio station tomorrow sometime, I would like to thank you personally. And again, I can understand the anonymity of the whole situation. You got to be impressed I got that word out like in the first try.
That was good.
So it's not an easy word for me to say. So
There's been a lot of hard work that's been going into this, especially from you, Danny. So I think that it's so nice for somebody to come in here and show that we're appreciated, because we appreciate everybody listening and we're working hard to give everybody the best product that we can possibly do.
absolutely. I echo that 1,000,000% because this is just starting. Man, we just cracked the egg. We're making a big old omelet. This is going to be a lot of fun and things are going to improve and get better and more listener involvement. I know we're brand new, so I don't expect it to go, crazy in the first week, but I know it will. And the business community that's already stepping up to support us, can't tell you much how, as a local owner and a first-time owner, scary as heck. But at the same time, I know with the people like I have around me sitting in this room and elsewhere in the business community helping support it, we're going to be just fine. Maybe LeBron can sponsor me. Where do you think LeBron's going to end up? Did we ask this question already?
I've been saying Cleveland, but now I'm starting to lean Miami, that he thinks that playing with Giannis and Bam would be his best bet, and maybe he doesn't want to play with Harden. But I don't know. I'm with Travis. I think it's East because he doesn't want to take on Oklahoma City instant. I think he wants to at least get to the
another final.
Yeah.
So I guess you would take a look at the lineups and go, who's going to give me the best chance to do that? I don't know about Philly. I don't see Philly.
I've been saying Warriors. It sounds like the reports are coming out that that's not going to happen.
Does LeBron need to be the star though? Does he want to?
shouldn't be. No, he shouldn't.
Okay, I'm just saying though, Cleveland, he would be the hero returnant to try and get another ring.
He'll probably be like the second or third best player on the team. Like he's not going to be relied upon.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say the second or third best player. He would be the
biggest star.
he would be the star on the team. So that's where I don't think.
Cleveland, actually.
Yeah.
See, and that's why I don't know about Miami because he wouldn't be the biggest star on that team.
Like at this point, if he's the biggest star on your team, you're not a contender. I mean, that's
Exactly.
sort of why he's going somewhere. Now, I don't think he liked being the third peg in LA, but I think he could play a second fiddle. I don't know if he likes being the third one, but yeah, I mean, if he goes somewhere and he's the best player, that team's not a contender.
How long is this getting drug out?
Intentionally so, by the way. We've been saying, as in we, as in everybody around the office, for weeks that he was going to do this after the World Cup.
Yeah.
It was always going to be after the World Cup.
Yeah.
Because he didn't want it to be overshadowed by
Of course
the
not.
Cup.
Yeah.
So again, the spotlight needs to be on, which again tells me
Oh,
the spot.
LeBron, baby.
That's why I keep saying Cleveland in my mind, because that is where the focus is not going to be on anybody else except what LeBron is doing every single night. He's going to be the first soundbite that comes out of that locker room.
We've already done the I'm coming home to Cleveland thing is my only kind of thing about it. Like
Well, we as fans and he as
everybody,
his
like, he did
person.
it twice, right? Did he come back and play twice now? Or
Came
just
back.
once?
Just came
Whatever.
back.
We already did it. He
This
did
would be
two things. He won the championship It's a little bit weird to me to come back and say, well,
Do you think Cleveland would
Yeah,
welcome
yeah.
back with open
Yeah,
arms after
absolutely.
getting?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And they've fallen short in the playoff last couple of years, and maybe he's the one that gets them through. So they'd absolutely love it. They didn't like him that first time he left, but I think he left on good terms and stuff.
But then
It
going
will
back to
come next
Miami
week,
again?
because next week is the start of NFL camp, and so I think he's going to want to do it before NFL takes over.
Well, and it sounds like Adam Silver has been pressuring him to make the decision as well.
Yeah,
Because he wants TV, he wants the matchup.
Yeah, shout out to Vegas.
Well, it's about schedule. But honestly, this is where I diverge from everybody else. Is that it doesn't matter to me. I mean, unless you're totally in line with what the NBA as a corporate entity wants to try and accomplish. I'm not going to rush my decision or reveal my decision unless it's on my terms. I don't care about your schedule. Go ahead and pick 4 or 5 games. Just believe me, you can move them anytime you want. It doesn't matter. That to me is like the commissioner should stick his nose out of stuff like that. You can't tell a player when he has to make a decision.
No, but I think the bigger point is that, I mean, he knows by now what he's doing. He's had enough time this side. It's not like
Yes.
he knows. He's just dragging himself to be part of it. I think that's what Adam Silver said.
Are we going to have an ESPN special? Like a half hour ESPN special?
No, I think this one's
Okay.
going to come on the Rich Paul podcast. His agent has a podcast.
Oh, there
I think
you go.
it's going to
That's
be on
good.
the Rich Paul podcast.
That's gonna make sense. All right, here's our dad joke of the day. What's the difference between ignorance and indifference?
Lift.
Yeah, I don't
G over D.
know, and I don't care. For the wordsmiths in the audience. All right, first one in the books. 3 hours down. 3 hours tomorrow. You get another 12 hours of programming here from the Sports Animal, for Baby J, for Goose, for Vegas, for Hawk. I'm Doc. Thanks for joining us. God bless. Go to the podcast and try and relive as much as we can figure out. And back tomorrow at 3 p.m. on The Drive. Thanks, y'all. Sports Animal, EUG. Go follow us. Peace.